Pierre, welcome to Valencia.
Thank you.
Nice to be here with you once again, spending time with you.
Very nice to be here.
Pierre, I know you quite well. I've got to know you over various events over the last couple of years, spending a lot of time with you and Gerard with Vivid. But a lot of people from the on-chain art community, they don't really have the same exposure to you as what I have had. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Vivid.
So I'm co-founder of Vivid. We started Vivid with Gerard a couple of years ago now. And I am in charge of all the tech at Vivid. I do, well, obviously the website. You pretty much interact a lot with the website. And all the inscription parts. So I talk a lot with the artists, try to understand what they want to do, how they want it to be reflected on Bitcoin. We talk a lot, and then I try to guide them, steer them in a direction that fits within Bitcoin and ordinals, and then we work together to put their art on chain.
Amazing. So as the CTO of Vivid, now what sparked your focus in building the backbone that we see today as the inscription standard for art on Bitcoin?
I would say curiosity. You know, I first started in the world of Web3 and crypto. It was 2016. I was a student at that time, and I was studying on my own. Not even Jara was here. I was just for a curiosity of it, like what's a blockchain? How can I deploy a smart contract? What's up with this stuff? And then we worked in the 2021 NFT boom with Jara. We gained a lot of experience. And after that, you know, ordinals came pretty naturally. We became aware of them. And I was like, okay, it's just something new, something very interesting. I was just really curious to understand, because I always focus on understanding what's behind what's really going on. So I've read the ordinal source code a lot of times. I've spent a lot of time there. I've never contributed because I'm not that good at Rust. But I've spent a lot of time reading, learning what was going on for real, and out of curiosity. And then, obviously, when you take into account what we've done with Vivid, it comes from a need to help artists express themselves and helping them go over some technical hurdles that they couldn't really tackle on by themselves.
So when you think about Bitcoin as a canvas for digital art, did you always see it as a perfect canvas, or was there perhaps a ordinal experiment that really helped to outline that this could be an amazing place for artists to secure their art?
So it is an amazing place. I'm not a maximalist, you know. I love Bitcoin, and I recognize that ordinals on Bitcoin, they have a lot of advantages, and they're very strong for some things, less strong for others. And I think it clicked for me when I saw, when I experienced, I would say, how eager people were for generative art, code art. I don't think I realized that before, even though I was aware of, you know, the Ethereum collections, block arts, art blocks, sorry. I was aware of that, but I didn't really enjoy it, experience it firsthand. But when we released Rising Echoes, it was really, people were eager to buy it. They were really interested in that. And I was like, okay, this is something people are really interested in. You can express a lot of things through code, and the visualization, the interactivity that you have is limitless. And Bitcoin is really a good medium for that. Like, it fits right into what Casey created with ordinals. It just fits right there. It's a perfect fit, so why not try and really push that thing as much as possible?
So thinking about Bitcoin versus perhaps other chains where people like to store their art, Ethereum, Solana, and so forth, what is it about Bitcoin's protocol restraints that create a challenge, but also perhaps increase its desirability?
Challenge is obviously the size. Things, by design, everything has to be on chain. It's in the protocol. So as long as you follow the protocol, you are sure that everything you will see on your screen will be on chain. That is like the biggest, safeguard against any attempt of putting something off chain. That comes with the responsibility of being mindful of what you put out there, because, well, first it costs a lot of money to inscribe big files, but also it's a responsibility not to pollute the blockchain with worthless junk. So I would not say I'm part of this group that's saying that every inscription is spam. That is absolutely not true. But there are certain things that, yeah, guys, you do whatever you want. It's not necessarily interesting to inscribe that, Sorry, what's your question again?
No, I mean, that's perfect. Basically, as Vivid was one of the very first to treat Bitcoin as a serious home for art on Bitcoin, how did you avoid replicating the same kind of mistakes perhaps that you saw happening on Ethereum?
Taking our time and being very, very mindful of who do we let in our community and what we release. Not churning out new art, new collection every month, every week, but really taking the time to release something that we are proud of and always improving. I've not stopped improving my way of inscribing since the first collection. Rising Echoes was the first one. The last one is Revisiting Elsewhere by Docty, and not once I have stopped improving the way I inscribe files and art on chain.
So continuing to push the boundaries is something that is a part of the Vivid's ethos, right?
Absolutely.
So thinking about the earliest collection, Rising Echoes with Medusa, what perhaps has changed from then till now in the way that you use the protocol? Thinking about perhaps some of the protocol developments that have happened since those very early months, in say January, February, March 2023, to now, what has changed?
Well, the first one would be parent-child. At first, I think it was not exactly out like a couple of weeks just before we inscribed Rising Echoes, but we were not that aware of, because it was moving very fast at the time. So we were not really aware of everything that was going on. And unfortunately, that there is no parent-child on Rising Echoes. This is something we're actively working on to improve and to add some links that are there after the fact. It's not perfect, but it's the best system we've come up with so far. What else has changed? Well, I think after working with so many artists, you begin to understand there is a way of doing it that's very efficient, because obviously it's web technologies. So there are not a million ways to inscribe a web file, HTML, JavaScript, and whatever you want, fonts, sound. So you begin to understand the patterns that artists use, and it's very funny because I have like categories of artists I work with. So I know like Medusa is very raw with the code he's sending me, whereas people like Cybersea or Shiderism, it's much more structured. But in the end, it will be the same thing. It will be an HTML with JavaScript, and based on that, you devise some way of making it very efficient and very neat. When I say neat, I mean like everything is contained in its own inscription, and then you have the right relationship with some delegate, some parent-child, to really make the collection neat and pleasantly inscribed on Bitcoin. I don't know.
So thinking about that protocol, parent-child, how has that increased perhaps the user-friendliness of the collection for users, but also the permanence of the collection, the way that it actually affects the collection long-term? A lot of people don't realize that parent-child is very useful, not just almost essential for it to be a standalone collection, but perhaps you could give us your thoughts on how important parent-child is.
Well, I think it's very important because it's so easy and usable to to see on chain, because you go in inscription and you can click on the parent. And that's what makes it such a nice way of doing the whole provenance, tackling the whole provenance problem, because it is so user-friendly to use. You go on your inscription, you click on the parents, and then maybe another parent if you are not sure and you really want to check the provenance of your inscription. And it's as easy as that. And you can see, okay, so this inscription is the child of this one, or I recognize the logo of the collection, I see some galleries have helped with the development or whatever. And the parent of this collection has parents too. And then you see, oh yeah, I recognize the Vivid Seal, for example. So I know this is a Vivid Seal. I click on the Vivid Seal. Oh yes, of course, there are some of all the collections I loved. You see Rising Echoes, you see Deus Ex Machina, you see plenty of things under there. And you're like, oh, okay, it is very fast. In 3 to 4 clicks, you can navigate a lot of inscription, a lot of layers, and you can be sure your inscription is legit. Mm-hmm. So I think it's so important because it's so easy to use. Mm-hmm. Because very easily you can verify the provenance of a collection. You can make sure it's the right one and it's not a fake one.
So in layman's terms, in 5 seconds of dialogue, what does that mean for the end user, for somebody collecting a high-value piece of art?
It means in 5 seconds you can prove where your art's come from. In 5 seconds, you can have the whole history of your art.
Extremely powerful.
Extremely powerful, no?
Excellent. Thinking about some of the artists that you've worked with, what is the challenge of getting the artist's vision to what they see on their screen, mm-hmm. getting that to actually existing and living on the blockchain?
A lot of dialogue, because to be very honest, the waves they're very strong in the visual field. So they almost all the artists we work with, they are doing mostly visual art. So it's you have a canvas at the end that's filled with shapes and colors and forms, and they have their very strong opinion on that. But when they want to push it on chain, then they have less opinion or expertise on what can we use, how we can integrate with Bitcoin. And then this is where I try to explain to them. Some of them are more technical geared, some less, and I try to explain to them what does it mean to take some Bitcoin data, for example, link to that, saying, okay, I'm gonna take the last block, number of transactions, what does it do, what are the edge cases, what could exist, because they don't know, and a lot of people don't know. You can have empty blocks, you can have timestamps that are inverted, so a block that's after one has an earlier timestamp, and that's a lot of edge cases and very specific things about Bitcoin that you need to warn them about. You need to explain to them that could happen, this is what usually happens, this is what you can expect from Bitcoin.
So most of the artists that work with Vivid, they're using the inscription libraries mm-hmm. that were inscribed onto Bitcoin, yes. P5.js, 3.js, and so forth. Does that present any challenges for you? Or does that make your job so much easier?
It makes your job easier. Obviously, I don't have to do it. There are some very good teams, so salute to OCM, to the Wizards of Oz that have also published a lot of content on chain for artists and everyone to use. It makes my job so much easier because I'm like, oh yeah, just take this version, import it in your code, load it from the recursion endpoint, and you have it. And it's a pleasure to work with. And we have had to add some libraries on our own, some fonts, some stuff for certain artists because they required it. And when we share that with the community, we share how we did it and how you can use that then in your inscriptions.
Amazing. So thinking about that, let's double click in on that part of the ordinal history. We know that Danny Yang inscribed the libraries mm-hmm. on chain, the P5.js and the 3.js libraries, for anybody to be able to use. If those libraries were not available, mm-hmm. what would artists have to do?
Either they would like to inscribe their own version of the library, but then you have duplicated libraries everywhere, or they would have to use the raw capabilities of your browser. And I can tell you it's much harder, and they're just losing time. Like P5 is basically a layer of accessibility on top of your browser for people to really paint things on the browser. If you remove P5, it's telling artists, I'm going to remove your stuff, I don't know how you say, your wand, and you're going to paint with your fingers. I mean, yes, they could. It's just going to lose so much time. There's no point in that. There's just no point in that.
Mm. Are there any other Bitcoin ordinal quirks that you find that you have to try to work around, or that you would wish that there was a solution for?
Testing is not always easy. Sharing results of a test, because you can spin up a local ordinal environment very easily, and that's really good. That's helped me a lot. But then you need to share the end result with someone, so you always need, it just takes a lot of engineering and technical challenges to be able to do that. And I wish I had the time, or someone had the time, to develop in-browser sharing experience that would really mimic the behavior of an inscription when it's really on-chain.
So thinking about some of the artists that you've worked with, we've mentioned Medusa. Mm-hmm. He was the first official Vivid artist to actually bring a collection to Vivid to be released. Thinking about Rising Echoes, also Artifacts, and then Not a Painting. When we think about even Medusa's evolution in the art space, in the ordinal space, what improvements have you seen Medusa make with his code, with his artistic ability and so forth, just in this very short period of time?
I would say he has been experimenting more and more with really techniques to bring some texture to his art. And you can really see that in Not a Painting. He had experimented with that for a long, long time, and he has successfully made something incredible. So yeah, he's been spending, and I've seen in the code history and the code he's been sharing to me, how much he experiments, how much he tries some ideas, some little MVPs to make sure something is working or it's not working, and then incorporating that into bigger projects like Not a Painting. He's being really, really good at that.
And he's a lovely guy, very, very humble. He's a true artist, right?
Yeah, he is.
Amazing. Also, let's think about some of the other collections that are very well known from Vivid. So we think about the Golden Ratio collection with Haruto. So that was quite an early collection as well. Yeah. And you used some groundbreaking, at that time, protocol, I guess not so much enhancements, but things like parent-child, recursion. Yeah. You also did some very interesting things with inscribing on rare sats, block 9450X, that were also cursed inscriptions. When you think about everything that went into the Golden Ratio collection, how do you feel that established Vivid and also that collection as a true art collection, and also Vivid as somebody or a company that really cares about what they were inscribing, not just for now, not just to sell the collection out, but also to give people something that was very valuable moving forward?
Well, how many cursed inscriptions are there?
I think there's around 480,000.
Yeah, and how many are parent-child on top of that?
Very few.
And how many are on cursed sat on top of that?
Very, very few. So as from what I know of, there's probably maybe 30 or 40,000, but perhaps 30 or 40,000 of those are actually part of the On-Chain Monkey collection as well, right? So I'm sure that there are some others on top of that, but there are very few from my knowledge that are actually linked and have all of those protocol enhancements in one collection.
But you see what I mean? We really tried as much as we technically could at the time to push Golden Ratio in what was possible. I remember we had a very weird setup because well, it takes a lot of engineering to separate the sats Now it's easier because they made a lot of improvements on ordinals client, but at the time it was really hard. You had to separate your sats one by one, send the transaction one by one. We stayed up for days trying to inscribe everything in a way that would make sense. And this is how at least this is how I show I care about the collection. I spend a lot of time trying to build out the thing as nicely and as technically advanced as I can. And this is why I stay up at night. I stay up really researching the details that can make this better. And there I'm only talking about the inscribing part of golden ratio, but there is also the artistic part and how we improved, optimized the code so it would load fast, how we did a lot of variation, how we you have the some are skewed. I don't remember the trait exactly, but some are skewed, some are monochrome. We spend a lot of time on that. We spend a lot of time on the significance of the seed because you have different seed. The Fibonacci seed, you have different meanings, the 111, 222, etc. So this is in the little details we show how much we care.
So a lot of people see the end result and they see the art, and the artist is credited for what they have done. I guess you don't get a lot of credit or a lot of recognition for all of the work and the artistry in code that goes on behind the scenes.
What I do from you, and I thank you for that. But it's true, I think the impact that we have as a gallery on an artist's success and production is underestimated. I don't think people see all the work we're putting it from a technical but also commercial marketing point of view, how we make it work, because it is very nice to have a nice visually pleasant collection, but it's just the beginning. It's just the idea, it is just a prototype. Then you have to really package it as something artistic. You have to package it as an artwork that can be traded on ordinals. And this takes a lot of time.
So I'm sure Gerard knows the amount of work that you put in, and he appreciates your input into Vivid just incredibly. I think apart from Gerard, perhaps only the artists know how much time and effort that you devote to each collection to make all of those things possible that you've just mentioned. I'm sure that they love the amount of effort, the time, the care that you put into each collection, and I hope that they also credit you in the future for all of the things that you've done, because if not, in my eyes, it would be a travesty to only focus on the art that people see with their eyes versus all of the things that have gone in to make those pieces actually render properly, to be stored correctly on the blockchain and so forth. In my eyes, what you do behind the scenes is every bit as important as what the artists are doing.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, though, most people won't see that. So I think that that's an important story that we can also tell, and without people like you, then the artwork would be almost irrelevant because it wouldn't even be found. Yeah.
I like to think it as this, let's take oil on Canva, okay? Well, if I print something with my printer and I say, hey, this is a good oil on Canva, right? People are never going to agree to that. They're never going to see the art behind. It can be great art, but you just printed it and pretended it was oil on Canva. And I think it's a bit the same with Bitcoin. You can have something visually very nice, but if it doesn't fit the medium, then it's irrelevant in that medium. And obviously, you can draw some parallels here too. Like if you know how to do some oil Canva, then you will know how to do some aquarelle, or you will learn it's quite similar. You don't lose all your technique, but you still have to fit within the medium. So that's why it's important to respect it. That's why it's important to inscribe the way it's intended to be inscribed, the way protocol is intended to be used, with parent-child, with delegates, with trying to make your footprint on the blockchain as small as possible. Because this is how you do art on Bitcoin. Otherwise, it's not art on Bitcoin, it's something else, but it's not art on Bitcoin, and it cannot be recognized and traded as art on Bitcoin. It doesn't have the same value.
So thinking about that art on Bitcoin, what do you think that that is going to mean when people hear that phrase, art on Bitcoin, in 5, 10, 15 years' time?
Mm-hmm. I think it's going to take a lot of time to onboard the people. They are still scared of the NFT word. They are not exactly NFTs, to be very precise. But I can see where people are coming from, all the scams and stuff that happen. We are not doing that, obviously. We are really trying to share the artist's vision and put that on Bitcoin. And when people are really actually going to be interested in that, they will understand what we've done. They will see all the work we've put in, and they will see the quality of the collections that we've put out there on Bitcoin. And they will be in love.
As I am.
As you are. But yeah, lots of education, maybe some, a path for people to onboard and understand and learn about art on Bitcoin.
Mm. We've talked a little bit about Medusa, but and also Haruto with the Golden Ratio collection. We know that you also collaborated on Floriforms with the Belvedere Museum. A lot of work obviously went into that. It's an amazing collection and visually stunning and very visually recognizable as well. You see a Floriform, you know exactly what collection that's from. But let's think about some of the other artists that you've worked with. We know that Cybersea is a very popular Vivid artist for very good reason. Working with Cybersea, were there any specific challenges there? Or what are you most proud of with the collections that you've worked on with Cybersea?
I think I'm really proud how we came up with the Bitcoin time integration in Deus Ex Machina. I think it was one of the first. It obviously was not the first inscription using Bitcoin data, but it was one of the first artistic projects to use that and to use it in such a coherent and visually beautiful way. I think he really nailed how to transcribe the passing of time on Bitcoin using his own artistic sensibility. And I'm really proud the way we did it, the way we came up with the gear spinning and then the time it takes for them to spin again. There is a little bit of fog, and we had to talk about that. Oh, how long is it going to take? What happens if you have 2 blocks in a row? Because sometimes you have 2 blocks in a row, so you have fog for like a minute on your inscription. It's very impressive. So I'm really proud of this one.
Yeah, it's a stunning collection. And I think the more that Bitcoin maxis understand art on Bitcoin in the future, that's going to be a collection that is going to be highly sought after for the reasons that you've mentioned. It's a wonderful representation of blocks being mined. And I don't think that there's perhaps a better collection that shows the integration of art and the Bitcoin blockchain in one place.
Maybe not one as close as this one, but also Enigma from the same guy, from Cybersea. He's always pushing for new ways of integrating with Bitcoin and what he's done with Enigma. And I think people are going to recognize that everything that's linked to Enigma too, because so for those who maybe don't know that, Enigma, you could link one of your ordinals to your Enigma, and that would unlock some special properties, and the Enigma would be influenced by your ordinals. So those linked pairs now, they are almost like there is a soul link between them, And I think those pairs of collection are going to be extremely sought after.
So they are definitely increasing the grail status of the Enigma collection, aren't they? So if somebody collects one of those inscriptions that have been linked to another collection, then that increases the desirability to try to acquire its parent piece or its sister piece.
Exactly, because there is a system to track if both collections, since they are linked, if they are in the same wallet. So we want to make sure they are.
So 3 collections were actually chosen that we could link our Enigma inscriptions to. So there was the On-Chain Monkey, Genesis, and the Dimensions 300 collections. There were bit maps.
Yes.
And there were also the Deus Ex Machinas from Cybersea.
Yes.
And so when somebody has both of those inscriptions in one wallet, what changes about the inscription?
Well, you can unlock the... what's it called already?
Glitch mode?
The glitch mode, exactly. You can unlock the glitch mode, and you can unlock more colors on your. Was it more colors, or was it a different background? I'm not sure I remember correctly. To be honest.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive.
Yeah,
very, very impressive.
Very impressive.
Excellent. So let's think about perhaps how that has developed. CyberC's idea, or Vivid's idea of being able to link artwork with the Bitcoin blockchain, and it's also taking the functionality, I guess, of the blocks being mined and having a visual representation of that in the artwork is phenomenal. What other collections have Vivid worked on that include those kind of parameters?
Well, the first one I'm thinking of is Inflatables by Shaderism. So this is actually the first 3D rendered, 3D generated collection that anyone has ever put on chain. And it is influenced by, I actually remember, do you need to have a looming emotion in your wallet? I don't remember. You need to have something in your wallet, right?
What happens?
What was the trick with inflatables?
Oh.
So inflatables, yeah, you have those, the pairs, not even the pairs, but you have like...
The laser eyes.
Oh yeah, it's with the last of the ID, right?
Exactly, the last of the ID.
The last number digits.
Eight inflatables you could connect with, and you get the laser eyes. So it's easier to get a pair, you know, it's not like on Lightwaves where you need the next one and the one before. You have a lot of different opportunities to get the laser eyes activated.
Okay. So yeah, so in inflatables, there are 800 of them, and if you collect 8 with the same final digit, so for example the 1, 101, 100 and well, there are actually more than you can collect, but as soon as you have 8 of them,
so 101 with 201 with 301.
Exactly.
You just need 2 of them, guys. But you can repeat. You just need 2 of the 8.
Yeah.
Do you?
You can have like the 101 and 201 and
Yeah.
you already activate.
Yeah.
But it gives you 8 different options, so it's easier to...
Sorry, that's what I was
Yeah.
trying.
I forgot, yeah, there's so many things. So yeah, so in inflatables, as soon as you collect 2 inflatables with the same ending 2 digits, so for example 101 and 201, you unlock the laser eyes. So it gives the collection more depth and more incentives to collect more of inflatables.
Very nice.
That was a free mint, by the way. That's why, you know, it's important that we introduce some mechanics to make it fun.
When you talked about free mint, I think that's a very, very important aspect of what Vivid has done on multiple occasions, is that they have looked after the community. So we've got the Inflatables collection, free mint. Floriforms was also a free mint.
Yes.
It was only the inscription cost, which was very, very cheap. And also, I like to think about the way that you look after your serious collectors of Vivid. So Vivid really tries to drive the collective experience, the collection experience into what they do. Not just the buy, flip, move on mentality that exists throughout the NFT world. That is something I think that collectors like myself really appreciate. So I appreciate the artwork.
Thank you.
Vivid appreciates that I appreciate the artwork.
Absolutely.
And continue to hold that artwork. And so they do their best to try to make it worthwhile for me to continue holding those artworks. I think that that's a very, very special element. And it builds a very special relationship between the artists, Vivid, and the collector. I think that's very special. Also, coming back to those collections that were using Bitcoin data in the metadata for the collections, we've also got Vortex by Ella, right? That also uses Bitcoin data.
Yes. Yes. You want me to elaborate on that?
Sure.
So yeah, well, Ella, she has devised a system where your vortex reacts to what type of block you have, depending on the number of the block. So you have, for example, you have mirror blocks. They are very rare, but they happen. You have Fibonacci blocks. You have different types of blocks, number, and they make your vortex go crazy. They make your vortex spin in different direction. It's all explained on the Vivid website where every combination came from and what does he want to express, how she wanted to express her feelings through that connection to those numbers, because I think she's very much into those kind of things. And yeah, I think it's beautiful. Also, this is the first collection where we introduced multi-parents. So we have 5 of the vortex that were actually a collaboration between Ella and some other artists. And this particular inscription, they have as a parent, they have the collection parent as every other collection, every other item in the collection. But they also have the specific artist that collaborated on this inscription seal as a parent. And this is again how we always come back to that, but this is how you show provenance. Because then you can click on that, you can click on either the collection parent or you can click on the artist still, the collaborating artist, because you're like, oh, I like the colors. Maybe it's a color scheme I'd like to collect, maybe he's a big fan of yellow, for example, for Doc T, and you click on the seal and then you go and explore their artistic outputs.
Doc T. we have to pause there for a moment and talk about Doc T. A very unique artist, an amazing guy in real life. Talk a little bit about Doc T and the way that you've spent time with him and bringing his art to Bitcoin over the last 12 months or so.
Well, you just said that Vivid is really trying not to do the buy, flip. We're not buying into that scheme, we really want to avoid that. And we want to avoid that so much that in revisiting elsewhere, Doc T's latest collection, it's a very unique collecting experience. So you go on the website and the collection is centered about memories. And there are very, I would say, simple images, simple abstract, not abstract, but they pull memories out of you because they are everyday scene, a simple composition, and they remind you of something. It hits the spot for everyone. And so you go on the website and you collect your revisiting elsewhere. And then we absolutely want to make sure that the connection is complete. So how do we do that? Well, we let you give a name to your piece because it's a very personal collection. We're not expecting anyone to sell this ever because, well, it is a piece of your memories. Like, why would you sell your memories? You don't want to do that to you. And he's been curating this collection for months. We've helped him with internal tools to help him create the collection to the highest standards. So he's making sure the scenes you are seeing are really touching your heart. And then we add another layer of inputting your own interpretation on top of that. Okay, this is how I see it. This was my brother, this was my friend, whatever you want to say. And then you keep it.
It's a very unique opportunity to be able to take. I've described it before that Doc T basically provides a framework with these simple images, as you say, that we hang our own experience over, and it gives it real meaning for us. And it's a very, very powerful collection. Doc T also had a fully on-chain Ethereum collection that was the precursor to the Bitcoin collection. And once again, I don't think that for me, any collection ever kind of hits as hard as those images that Doc T creates because, as you mentioned, we hang our own experiences on top of these pieces and they become very, very personal. Being able to name those pieces as well adds that extra layer of personal ownership and collectability. And I agree, finding a piece that you deeply connect with, being able to name that piece, it would be very, very difficult to part with that piece. It's a very, very interesting position to be in by a collector. But we have to mention also that you can only name that piece if you mint that piece. You cannot rename that piece on the if you buy a
Yes.
piece on the secondary market.
Yes,
So.
and it's made, the way it's done, it's made so it's basically the first thing you are thinking of. So you cannot even lie to yourself. You cannot even, come back later and say, oh, I think I'm going to name it this afterwards. No, it's like, what does it tell you? What does it make you feel right now? Tell us. It's on Bitcoin. It's forever here.
It's a beautiful experience to be a
I
part of.
know you've enjoyed this experience a lot.
Very much.
I am extremely happy that you have loved this collection as much as we did.
What haven't we talked about so far? Are there any other collections? Are there any other elements of collections or working with artists that we really should double click on?
There are two aspects I think I want you to talk about. The first is the usability of your inscription. So we have started for interactive pieces and moving pieces, animated pieces, to integrate some form of video capture, screenshot capture, sharing links, because if you really open it in full screen, then you can change some settings and you can share it with your friends. You can capture the video and share it on social medias. And it's been really interesting to me to put those utilities somehow, because when you think about it, it's not part of the artwork itself. It's a layer of utilities you put on top of that. But it's very important that it's here because we live in a digital age now, and this is digital art. It is not traditional art anymore. So we have to adapt, and we have to provide ways to people to share that. And how do we do it right now? We do it through social medias. So if you don't give the opportunity for people to do that, to really capture what they are seeing right now and how they want to show it to you, then you're just back to Stone Age, and you have to send a letter, a screenshot, a USB key with a recording on top of it, and it's not what you want to do. So this was something that I wanted to mention, that I like seeing that in our collection, and I wish more collection could maybe integrate some of the libraries we've put online, put on chain to use and to record videos, screenshot, whatever, make it easy to share a particular setting, a particular scene in your inscription, because no inscriptions are very dynamic. Not all of them, but some of them are very dynamic, very changing. And if you want to capture just a specific moment, well, you have to make it easy for the collectors to do that. So that was my first thing, and I wanted to mention that it was one of the first things I told you, that I've not stopped improving how we inscribe collection with Vivid. And we've come up with some schemes now that we used in more and more collections. And I hope, for example, threads are going to be finalized and we can query our own threads, because I don't want to inscribe both. I don't want to reinscribe some useless data on Bitcoin. But if you look at our collections, they are extremely neat, especially starting with looming emotion. So we found a way, and a lot of people are doing that now, but I think we were one of the first to use the parent and delegate technique. So what do? Is you have your parent of the collection contains actually all the code, all the information that you will need, and then each individual inscription will be a child of this parent, and they will be delegated to this parent. So what does it mean? It will load the parent's data, but it will be interpreted in its own context. And so based on this new context, you can then instantiate and set the parameters for your new item. And this is a very neat way of doing generative art on Bitcoin, because everything fits right into the model. Everything is very clean on chain. You don't have random binaries, JS that's just over there. You don't know what to do with it. No, you don't have that. And the final evolution that we've come up with is for revisiting as well with Docty, because he's using images as a Canva, and he's adding some dynamic effects on top of that. And we had to come up with something so that the on-chain ancestry tree makes sense, because you have to store the images on one side, you have to store the JavaScript, the HTML, the outer shell, you have to store the metadata. And I advise you to go ahead, look up on-chain and see what we have done. Everything is perfectly encapsulated, so that every inscription is just pure expression. And this is one of those instances where what is done well, you don't see it. You know, the more you're good at it, the better you're good at it, the less people will be able to see the trace of your work, because you want to hide, you want the artistic expression to shine. So.
And that makes you the invisible man.
I am the invisible man.
You do an amazing job.
Thank you.
I know that it's probably difficult sometimes to express what you do to people in a very short, concise way that people can understand, because there's a lot of technical aspects about what you do that just wouldn't even register with most people. They wouldn't really be able to understand. But thinking about what you know about the Bitcoin ordinal protocol, let's just do a thought exercise here for a moment. Let's just say that you meet an artist in an elevator. What would you say to a traditional Web2 artist, or perhaps even an Ethereum Solana artist, to sell them on the idea of inscribing their work onto Bitcoin? If you had 30 seconds to do so, what would you say to an artist specifically?
I think the first point I reach out to, because this is the basis of art on Bitcoin, is have you seen all these platforms that have been shutting down? Yeah. Where is your art? Is your art on any one of them? Well, then your art is dead. I'm sorry. You should have inscribed it on Bitcoin, you know? Would have been permanent.
That hits hard.
That hits super hard, because this is, we've built many things on top of that, but this is the original promise. This is the original statement of art on Bitcoin, is that in 50, 100, thousands of years, your art will still be preserved into the Bitcoin blockchain. And if you believe that Bitcoin is going to be important and is going to be a central force, strength in this world to move money, assets around, then you can be sure that your art is going to live on Bitcoin forever.
What artist doesn't want their art to live forever?
I could see some very conceptual artists, you know, but otherwise, yes, you want your art to be preserved. And you know, in the digital art, we have digital rot, you know, and we have some servers shutting down, and some things become lost media. And this is too bad. This is too bad, because we lose so much. We lose so much more information now that we did 100 years ago, 200 years ago, because there is so much more going on and so much more being lost at every second in time than before. We need to preserve it.
We need to preserve it, unless perhaps the artist wants to create something quite unique, even on the Bitcoin blockchain, where the art does disappear. So that brings to mind the Best Before collection by Lemon Haze and Ordinally. I think that's a wonderful collection to show that, yes, this artwork could exist forever, but we actually chose it not to. So perhaps that work takes a certain amount of time to disappear from the blockchain, which also increases the collectability factor for those very few pieces that will be immortal in that collection. It's a wonderful use of the permanent aspect of Bitcoin being flipped on its head, I would say.
I love this collection, and the ways they've done it is very smart. I love them both. Lemonade and Ordinary, they are great persons. It's very interesting to have this Bitcoin as a timekeeper. The march of Bitcoin never stops, and some of it is going to be lost. But this is all about intent. Art is not lost because it's a lost media. It's lost because it needs to be lost. It needs to disappear. But it is the will of the artist to do that. And that's very important, intent.
Just thinking about that as we talk about artists, different artists in this space, not Vivid artists, artists in general, and also people like yourself that are helping people to bring their art on chain. Ordinally is a great example. I've had the opportunity to spend multiple days hanging out with Ordinally all over the world, Paris, Tokyo, and so forth. I had the opportunity to spend quality time with Lemon Haze a few months ago, and we spent some really nice time together. Thinking about the ecosystem where we are right now, we have these opportunities with artists and with developers like yourself. It's a very small, intimate space.
Yes.
And so for real artists, real developers, not the ones that are perhaps creating collections and not doxing themselves and they want to remain anonymous, that's up to them. But for the people that are in the space that are open and they want to collaborate, they want to give their best to the space, collectors like myself have an amazing opportunity to meet these people, to spend time with them, to give them feedback, and also to be inspired by them as well. It's a very, very unique place, I think, where we are right now.
Right now.
This is the golden age, I think,
Exactly.
of art on Bitcoin. And I think that will change in the coming years. I don't think that perhaps everybody will have the same kind of access to the intimate space that we have or enjoying right now. So it's a very, very cool place to be.
Yeah, I agree with you because the space is bound to be bigger and bigger, and so for now it's a big village. Everyone knows each other. We all know what's going on, and as it grows into a town, in a city, you're going to have multiple communities, and that's completely natural. But right now, everyone knows each other, and we can meet in some events. If you were in at NFT Rome 2 years ago, we had the Vivid retreat, and I know you enjoyed it a lot. So did I. It was an incredible moment to meet those artists, and then we organized a wine tasting and a wonderful meal, and we invited a lot of people around the community. We did the same thing in Paris last year, and it's so incredible to do it every time. Every time you form new connections and you talk to people, and it's just so good. It's very important that we see each other in real life because, yes, we are doing digital art. We are a global community. So it's even more important maybe to have those kind of retreats, those kind of moments where we just spend time together.
I agree. Absolutely agree. NFT Rome, the Vivid Artist Retreat there was phenomenal for me. Spending 6 days with the artists, the developers of Vivid, you and Gerard, it was a mind-blowing experience for me. And it's something that we're recreating on a smaller scale here in Valencia.
Absolutely.
You've flown in from France.
Yes.
Base Chain has flown in from his hometown. I've flown in. Medusa is going to be joining us very soon as well. Unfortunately, CyberC couldn't be here. He had other, day-to-day Web2 responsibilities that he could not get out of, and it was a little bit more last moment. This little Vivid retreat that we've got going on here.
Very much last minute.
Yeah,
That's what we enjoy too.
But what an amazing opportunity it is to be able to get together and come. Look, Pierre, thank you so much for sitting down with me today, helping me understand a little bit more about what you do, and also the people that will hopefully watch this and really understand how much goes in behind the scenes to creating a beautiful and enduring collection on Bitcoin. And that's what we want. So thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
I love your work and looking forward to seeing what's coming next. In saying that, is there anything that we should be aware of upcoming wise from Vivid, or do we just need to watch the space very carefully?
Just watch the space very carefully.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
No secrets given away there. All right. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Nice. I think that was good.
That was super good, no?
I think so.
That was nice. I mean,
Fairly natural,
very
flowed.
natural.
Just tried to sort of like work along with where we were in the conversation a little bit.
It was very nice.
Instead of like kind of throwing up any kind of weird questions that kind of like cut off the conversation? Just kind
No, you
of
did a very good job.
flew?
It was very natural for me. We could rebound on different subjects.
Nice. Perfect.
Thank you very much. It's actually, thank you so much, because you're giving me some time to express myself, and this
That's
is not
what we
something
need.
I have a lot of opportunity to do.
That's what we need. 100%. People need to understand.
Kojar is taking a lot of his time to do that.
Yeah.
I'm taking a lot of my time to manage things that he's not managing, you know. So
Right.
it's just.
Nice.
Oh, that was good.